Hey everybody, so I asked the other day for folks to submit questions to me, and I got three good ones, and I'm going to start with the first one. So, first question comes from Ashley Walkwood, Ground Zero OG, and Huntington Ground Zero MMA. What's up, man? Uh, he asked, what do you think about the difference between training as a generalist or training as a specialist? And the pros and cons of each. That's a pretty good question. In my opinion, it comes back to the idea that you're basically playing paper, rock, scissors when you're fighting. Okay, so a generalist is going to go, let's use another metaphor, an inch deep and a mile wide. Okay, they're going to be able to strike, they're going to be able to grapple, they're going to be able to fight on the ground, they're going to understand weapons. Okay, then if you got your specialist, they're going to be hardcore in one aspect of those, right? You're either going to get somebody who is great on the ground but shit on their feet, or great at striking but has no concept of dealing with weapons. Now, here's the thing: you can't touch on one of these without touching on some of the others, right? I can't touch on ground fighting without touching on wrestling from the feet, right? I can't touch on striking. I can't dive into striking without touching on to clinching. I can't discuss, weapons without discussing striking and clinching. You're going to get, the majority of the buffet that you're pulling from, right? So what I mean by that is, if you're going to be a generalist, if you're going to be a specialist, right? If you're going to be a specialist, you're going to look at the buffet tray and you're going to put a lot of one thing on your plate. Okay? If you're a generalist, you're pulling things from all the different buckets. Now, what does that mean in terms of efficacy? Well, if you're a grappler who dabbles in striking, you're not going to beat a striker. Not at striking, right? If you're a striker who dabbles in grappling, you're going to get choked. Okay, so the idea is, let me go back to paper, rock, scissors metaphor, right? If I can strike, if I can grapple, and if I can use weapons, right? I'm bringing the rock, the paper, and the scissors to the fight. If you specialize in grappling, right, you're bringing rock, rock, rock. So all I have to do is get my grappling to the point that I can deal with your grappling just a little bit, and then switch modes, and you're out of your element, right? You don't have the scissors to cut the paper, right? You don't have the paper to cover my rock. All you have is the rock, right? So I see this a lot. There's a lot of people who specialize, and that's great. If you're going to specialize, do it well, right? These are your hardcore competitors, right? We talk about, let's take the best grappler in the world, pretty much undisputed at this point, Gordon Ryan, right? He could out grapple me to death with probably very little effort, right? Not only is he a massive human, and I am not. He's also very young. I am not. But I bet you put a stick in my hand, it's going to hurt the whole time he's beating me, right? Put a knife in my hand, and he's probably going to die trying to do it, okay? So if you don't understand the pieces that you're not familiar with, then you shouldn't play those games. All right, so generalist versus specialist. What are the pros? Right? As a generalist, you are not going to beat someone at their own game, right? But you need to make sure that you are just good enough to keep up with them, so you can switch modes, right? If you're a specialist, right, then you're going to get really good at the thing you're doing. So you can adapt that thing to make it functional in different modes, right? We teach a lot of wrestling and jiu-jitsu when it comes to knife fighting, because that's the reality of the situation. We can do all these little hand tools and kind of stuff and blocks and all these little hand motions and footwork and all that stuff. When it comes down to it, right, I'm getting back to basic wrestling, grappling, and that kind of stuff. So, very good question, right? And that's my best answer. You're playing paper, rock, scissors. Bring your biggest rock, your biggest paper, and your biggest scissors, and make use of them. And if somebody has a bigger rock than you, get out your paper, because they might not have the paper. All right? Cool. Thanks. I'll be back with another question very soon.